I'm Merritt Ansa, and you're listening to the Devoted Dreamers podcast, the podcast for dreamers, creators, and makers who are eager to wake up in the morning with the confidence to say, this is who God made me, and this is the dream He's given me. If you have a dream on your heart, but you're confused about how to move forward, or you have fear, anxiety, and you worry that you're not enough, you're halted by comparison because somebody else is already doing your dream, or you're struggling to believe there is anything God could ever use you for. Welcome to Season 7. You're about to receive the encouragement you need to pursue that dream. Through the stories of women just like you who have faced their fears, fought back lies, taken bold steps, and are still in the middle of it. Stick around and you will be emboldened to take the next step. Grow in confidence in your identity in Christ, become sure of His faithfulness in your life, and be inspired by the good He will fuel through you in the world. Because, sister, the victory is already yours. Welcome, dreamers, to episode 155. This is the final episode of Season 7, and it's brought to you by Faithful Counseling. If you've been struggling like I am with multiple layers of overwhelm right now and have considered the value of seeing a counselor for just a little extra mental health support, you're going to want to stay tuned for a link and info on how to get connected with the online counseling services of Faithful Counseling later in the episode. And I feel like I can't just jump right into this interview today without admitting that my heart feels incredibly heavy right now. And yet this interview is pretty lighthearted because of when it was recorded. So let me just say, I get it if this one feels a bit disjointed from the world we're living in right now. Still, I hope you'll listen through and be encouraged by my guest. And before I go on, last week on Tuesday morning, it became clear pretty quickly on Instagram that something was different. I hopped on the bandwagon by posting a black square on my Instagram feed for hashtag Blackout Tuesday. This was an effort to allow other voices to be heard besides my white voice, an admission that as a white woman, I live as a person of privilege in our nation. And honestly, I just happened upon this little hashtag. I mean, it was hard to miss, right? Because everyone started doing it by the end of the day. But I did a quick bit of research to learn what it was about and decided to do my small part. But I wasn't planning to be absent from social media for an entire week. But every time I went to post something on the days following Tuesday, there just wasn't anything that felt right. I mean, what felt right was to remain silent. And I know that nothing is fixed by me disappearing from social media. I know that you're not here today listening to me for answers to the racism crisis. I just didn't think I could share this episode without acknowledging everything that's going on in our world right now. And just to say I want to be a better listener than I've been in the past, and I want to begin to understand my privilege and then use it for good for others. And it seems even more so right now, like the right time for a break from the podcast. So while I'm gone, I do want to be in prayer about how I might use this platform to elevate other voices. And I hope you'll pray with me and for me to that end, so that when I return in the fall, that maybe God will have revealed something to me about how I can be part of the solution. So a little reminder, speaking about the break, here's what's happening this summer in 3 easy points. Number 1, next week, there's no episode. I often take a break once a week or once a month, so that's the same. Number 2, the week after that, June 24th, in honor of officially being summer, if you're subscribed to this podcast, you will get 1 hand-picked episode per week in your app. Because I'm taking the summer off from publishing new episodes, these will all be repeats from seasons 1 through 5, but they are some of the best conversations I've had with other dreamers over the last 4 years, showing us how God has grown them and brought their dreams to life. There is a pretty good chance you've missed several of these, and they're some of my favorites, so I am re-releasing them for your benefit. And then number 3, I'm also creating kind of a partner tool for this. It's a set of digital downloads with journaling pages for each of these rerun episodes. If you want to spend the summer digging deep and working through some of the key questions about your dream, praying over what God has for you next and listening to His response, You're going to want to get these questions and schedule some space in your calendar to work through them. Just head on over to my store, meritonsa.com/store, to purchase the set and spend your summer on some of the internal work that will help set you free to launch your dream. Those will be available on June 24th. And without further ado, the season 7 finale is all about encouragement, especially for the busy mama out there, or even if you're not a mama. If you're needing some encouragement to be who God created you to be, to stop comparing yourself to others, or to let go of the expectations other people have put on you, this one is for you. Are you ready? Let's get to it. Hello, devoted dreamers, and welcome to what I believe is the final episode of season 7. I am talking today with Stephanie Pletka, and I think it really is God ordained that we have found one another at this point in the season. Stephanie and I are really like-minded. She is an entrepreneur, a speaker, and the author of a new book, Living Your Best Life. And she uses her infectious storytelling to help inspire women to chase their dreams and write their story. And so I do pray that you are super encouraged by her. Welcome, Stephanie. I'm so glad you're here.
Oh, me too. I just love, women championing women. I'm so excited about this. I cannot wait.
And I wish you all could see her because she's got this like Remen Villa picture behind her head in the Zoom call.
It is so embarrassing. Seriously, I was like, well, I could put you in my closet and you could see all my ski jackets and pillows, or I could take this off the wall.
I know. That's the vacation we all wish we were on right now.
Oh, me too.
Instead, we're still in quarantine.
With all the kids in their Zoom calls.
Yeah, totally. Well, Stephanie, how would you describe your God-shaped dream?
Oh, man, you just come right out of the gate, girl.
Yeah, we're not messing around. We don't have time for that.
Well, I tell you, my God-shaped dream, my dream has always been to encourage another person, another woman. I'm a firm believer that a rising tide lifts all boats. So some people are great at organizing and home decor or crunching numbers or even starting businesses. But my superpower, I feel like, is encouragement. Like I wake up in the morning to help women chase their dreams and really to let go of self-doubt and fear and let go of other people's expectations that are holding them hostage from, really being who they were meant to be themselves.
That's huge because, right, God wants us to be who he created us to be, not some like false plastic version of that. So thank you for encouraging us.
Yeah, I love it. My audience, when I wake up in the morning, I think of the exhausted, overwhelmed mom, really who's living life to the busy rather than to the full. And, that person, the mom who readily throws that mom guilt kind of like a cloud over their head rather than the gold stars that she deserves. So that's who I wake up for in the morning. So I want them to know how great they are and that what they do matters.
Okay. So usually our dreams are birthed out of an experience or a struggle in our own lives. So were you, or have you been that exhausted mom who needed the encouragement that you're offering?
Oh, girl, during quarantine. Yesterday, an hour ago.
Yeah.
Yes, life is life. It's not perfect. I thought, life would be wrapped in a pretty little red bow. And, I had started a video production company years ago, and I had 4 kids under 7. And oh my gosh, we were skidding into carpool and kids, we were throwing them in the car and run, hurry, hurry. And I sat on the end of my bed and I thought, is this it? Is this it? I had a good life. I have a great spouse, but I thought there's got to be more to life. Like enjoying the ooey gooey goodness of the journey instead of just go, go, go. And so my husband's like, why don't you start to write a blog, just release it, figure out what the solution is. And the more I began to write, the more, I don't know, I began to think, oh my gosh, like if I learned a chicken recipe that the kids would actually eat, I was like, I'd shout it to the rooftops. And as soon as I would learn different ages and stages of like chores and responsibility charts for the kids, and I would pass it along if it worked for me. And, a lot of times what worked for one kid doesn't work for another. I'm like, what?
Totally.
Totally. And so I began to write, and I would write for the paper, and I would write for a blog and the magazines, and people would write me. I felt like Dear Abby. So then I decided to write this book to save moms all that time and fear and uncertainty and what ifs and will it always be this way, because I want them to place steps into their lives to really enjoy the journey, to chase their dreams, and to write their story.
There's so much I could say in response to that. I'm a little bit tongue-tied. Like, what is your best tip for a mom of a 5 and a 2-year-old?
Oh my gosh. Well, I have to say, one of them is to create breathing room. For me, creating breathing room might be like, I tell my spouse, okay, I need 15 minutes time alone. That might look like a walk around the lake. It might look like eating chocolate in the backyard and not sharing it. It might look like a bubble bath, something that just allows me time to, let my brain heal itself. Or even getting the clothes laid out the night before. I have this one kid that he is just quality time. That is his love language. And all of my other kids, they are game. They can jump in the car and go, go, go. But the more he is rushed, it's like he'll just start crying. 5 years old, he just starts crying in the foyer. It's like, I'm not meant to be this way. And I thought, when I didn't have the clothes laid out the night before and the shoes were out by the mailbox or under the trampoline, it just seemed to catapult us into a life of crazy. And, when you own the morning, you own the day. And I felt like if I could just do a little preventative care at night, that would save us so much heartache in the day. So we wake up and it's like, life is good. It's not like our pants are on fire. It's awesome.
Yeah, totally. That's so good that I have that 5-year-old too. She's like, but you were rushing me,
Exactly. And you think, oh my gosh, I feel bad because, this is me placing that on them and they didn't ask for that. And really how we make them feel is what they remember, not what we say.
That's so true. That's so true. Okay. So, before you started doing the writing, were you writing at all? Like, did you ever see yourself as a writer or?
You got great questions. Because, I always saw myself as a messenger, not necessarily a writer. I think sometimes we think because we didn't go to college or go to take a class on a specific thing that we could never be the thing. But that is not true. So for me, I would wake up and I would have this like passion burning inside to put pen to paper. So I never saw myself as a writer, but I felt like I just needed to get the message out to the person to serve them. And as I, started writing for the town paper, I was like, people would be like, oh, you're a writer. And I would deflect like, well, not really. I'm just a mom or I'm just a something. And one day somebody looked at me and they're like, you're just a mom. Like, girl, hold your role. What did you say? Because we are powerful. We're resilient. We can do anything. So, I see myself as a writer now. I think when you've gone through the thing and you can share that thing, then you're an expert. And that makes you the writer or the person for the hour to tell the thing and help people to learn it and understand it. So that kind of gives you that validity, I guess.
Yeah, that's great. I love that. And I think we don't ever go into these kind of things feeling like an expert. Like you just said, like you kind of have to do it first. And then you're like, oh, that's how that works.
Yeah. And I mostly failed at it. I was like, I can teach you a lot through my failures, And I think our resilience of getting back up every time makes us stronger, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. So any fears that you had wrapped up in any of this? I mean, obviously calling yourself a writer before you felt ready.
Oh,
There's something
absolutely.
there. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. You're just like, people be like, and she's a writer. And I was like, no, I'm not, in my head. What are they doing?
Yeah. Yeah.
But no, I feared transformation really. So when I wrote my book, it was not only about transforming from being like the mom that you believe matters and going for your dreams. And a lot of it too is, just the growing up and people throw things at you and it's like, oh, finances equal lacking or marriage equals failure. Like we come up with these little, how we believe our belief system. And we just kind of like Play-Doh that kind of globs onto you. It's like,
Mm.
that's how those little lies creep in. And so you have those expectations maybe people have of you that you should be, further along in life, or you should have done this or that, but you didn't. And people oftentimes, they want you for what they need instead of wanting you for who you are.
Mhm.
And that was huge. I became a people pleaser for so many reasons. I don't blame any particular person. It's just I was a people pleaser. And or someone who gets, I don't know, they become an entertainer because they make people laugh. And so, we become all these things. And at some point I was like, gosh, who am I? What is my opinion? Like,
Mm.
what do I have to say? And so in this book, I walk through the steps of like how to let go of other people's expectations to be yourself. So I feared the transformation of what me writing the book, what would it do to me? Like, how would I transform? Where would there be a paradigm shift? Like, if I rock the boat, what friends or family would I lose? I feared writing a book. Am I an expert? I didn't feel like one. But it's kind of like transforming from a caterpillar into a butterfly. Oh my gosh, the heat and the
Mm.
pressure and time. It's like they can take that coal and turn it into a diamond. I know
Mm.
with my kids, we've gone to national parks. We travel in an RV, the whole family in the summer, and we'll go to national parks and a lightning strike will start a fire in a park. And then you think it's total devastation. Like, oh, this is terrible, all of it. But what happens is when that heat hits the pine cone, it opens up. It's the only way it'll open is through heat. And when it does, it spreads its seeds, and it's amazing. It actually creates growth and opportunity.
Mm. That's interesting, right? Because they say that a fire is actually an opportunity for new growth to come up, and that fire is like a healthy thing for a forest. But we're like, no, it's black and ugly, terrible, and devastating.
Yes, we're running from it. When I
Right,
feel heat, I want to bolt.
right. But you live in Arizona. So
Oh, yes. Well, that's why there's a lot of snowbirds. They have a house in the north and in the south.
totally.
They're runners too.
Right. I love that. That's really what you shared about the heat and the fire and how we want to run from it. I love that.
Yes. Well,
Idea.
it's funny because the guy in the Bible that had the leprosy, he didn't allow someone else's no to be his no. Like
Mm.
oftentimes we have other people have expectations of us. So we try to rearrange our life to be what they need. And in the process, it's like the guy with the leprosy in the Bible. Man, he's sitting there by the fire on the wrong side of the tracks and he's itching and he's got all the things. He's like, how did I get this? Was I at the airport? Like, what did I touch? And then he heard that Jesus was coming to town. And he was like, I'm going to the city and I'm going to be healed. And God said, if you have the faith as that of a mustard seed, I'll heal you. But people are like, no, you don't belong down there. You have to stay up here on Mount Leprosy.
Mm.
But buddy, he went downtown and he got healed. And like the next week he was, in his suit Monday morning at his corporate job and his life completely changed, right?
Mm.
I mean, obviously that's an analogy, but
Good.
he just didn't allow someone else's no to be his no. He knew what he wanted to do. And I think oftentimes fear is that way. Fear, fear is FEAR. You forget everything and run,
Mm.
or you face everything and rise.
I love it. That's so true. It's so true.
Yeah, it's like a fork in the road. We just decide, are we gonna run from the heat? Or are we gonna face it and we're going to rise. Something great will come out of it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So here we are. We're recording this in May, but it's going to go live in June. But we are still under pandemic world of 2020. What fears are you facing and battling right now? Like, what are you having to take to the Lord and be like, just take it. There's nothing I can do.
Yeah, well, my book sales, that's one.
Right. Because your book came out, 6 weeks before we all shut down.
Absolutely. I mean, we were gung ho. I was speaking and retreats and all the things, and books were flying. And then all of a sudden, everything just went, the brakes hit.
Mm-hmm.
And who knew? I mean, I love my kids. I love my family, but we're meant to ebb and flow. Life is meant to not be stagnant. And here we are. I've got 4 kids and a husband, and we're in every room Zooming and conference calls. And the dog is like, what? And so it's definitely been difficult, but that's probably the biggest thing is for me, I knew that God had in my heart to write this book, and I wrote it. But at this point, it's not in my hands what else happens. So in Isaiah 55:11, it says, my word goes out and it will not return void. It will accomplish that which I please, and it shall prosper in the thing I sent it. So I'm like, boom. Okay, God, that's in your hands. I wrote the book. Now, however it helps somebody, how far it flies, that's in his hands.
Mm. Right. And a lot of that you might not ever know anyway. Even if there was no pandemic, you wouldn't know how your book touches somebody. You wouldn't know the life transformation that came from somebody reading it. So
yeah, absolutely.
Like we always have to live in that.
Yeah. You just do the thing and you just pray that, what you did, the kids will leave an amazing legacy, and they have a work ethic and good character, and they love God, and you just do the best you can, but that's all you can do. You're just a human. Just, give yourself grace.
Mm-hmm. And so you had a bunch of speaking engagements that got canceled or maybe postponed. Like how much of that happened? Like, do you speak every month? What do you normally do?
Oh yeah. I speak every month. I speak. So now I'm doing podcasts, and boy, it's been such a learning curve. I'm like, I've had so much opportunity, and so many times where I thought like I filled out the information correctly on a calendar.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I know, right? And the whole podcast, but no. So I've been doing retreats, and so now I've pivoted to doing Zoom calls for the MOPS programs and the moms, and how to deal with quarantine, like the 5 top ways to deal with quarantine, during the pandemic, to, live your best life. And so, yeah, that's basically it. My Enneagram, or my personality, is a 7. And boy, do I love plan Bs. I love change, but only the good change, of course.
Totally.
And, but sometimes that means, I'm always thinking ahead. What's next? What's that cool, fun thing? Like my son had me skydive for his birthday. And my first thought was, I would just want to live. But then my second was, this is going to be fun. But sometimes I have to remember to live in the moment. So, there's the good, the bad, the positive, the negative about every personality. And we just kind of have to know what they are and reel them in.
Yeah. Right. And we have no idea when this moment is going to pass. So let's live in the moment. Seriously. I'm going to pop in here for just a minute to say thanks to our sponsor and tell you a little bit more about Faithful Counseling. If you've heard any of my other episodes this month, you know that my relationship with this awesome company came at just the right time for me here in the middle of the coronavirus pandemic. It's one of the reasons I am so eager to share them with you, because I'm fairly certain I'm not alone. And I'm going to say it, this situation we're in has not brought out the best in me. I am an introvert, and I am not used to being around people all day, every day. I need my alone time, and I'm not getting it right now. And I love my kids dearly, but honestly, I'm struggling with parenting them well right now, alongside not getting much of a break from this role. It has been really challenging. And I know myself well enough to understand that my bent is to want to run and hide from hard things, and I don't want to do that right now. I want to grow because the cost is too high not to. So I started meeting with my counselor. That first week we decided on social isolation, and it has been so good for me to have a place to process what's going on in my heart and mind and to find my way to a new mindset for parenting in these circumstances and hopefully beyond. So if you've been thinking you'd like to talk to someone about all that's going on in your heart and mind these days, the timing is perfect to try Faithful Counseling. Their online platform offers space for you to message your counselor 24 hours a day. So even if it's the middle of the night, you can share your worries and fears and thoughts with a Christian counselor, and you'll get timely, thoughtful responses. Plus, you get to schedule a weekly session by either video, phone, or chat at a time that's convenient for you from the comfort of your own home. Since you're stuck there anyway. But their services are more affordable than traditional offline counseling, and financial aid is available if you need it. And right now, as a Devoted Dreamer listener, you can get 10% off your first month when you use my link, getfaithful.com/dreamers. Counselors are available worldwide, and within Faithful Counseling's network of counselors, they have a broader range of expertise than you might expect to find locally if you were to search for someone on your own. If these unique circumstances find you wanting some additional support, a place to process and grow from a Christian perspective, be sure to check out Faithful Counseling and get 10% off your first month at getfaithful.com/dreamers. Now, back to the show. Well, as you look back, is there anything that you wish you had done differently in kind of pursuing like how you're living out your dream? I know the dream wasn't exactly to write a book, but the way that you would encourage, or what do you wish you had done differently?
Oh, goodness. How long is this podcast? Oh, the list is long, girl. Okay. Well, I wish I had not listened to the fears. That Oz behind the curtain that says, girl, you aren't enough. Who are you to write this book? What? I've wasted days and weeks and years listening to the lies that I tell myself. I had a mom's night out conference, and I thought, we planned it and we decided to put hey, ladies, as you walk in and register, let's write on the wall, on sticky notes, the lie you tell yourself. And I thought, no one will probably actually do that. Oh my goodness. I could have cried because the wall was so huge. And on every sticky note and every color, with every type of lie, the one that came up the most, it was like they were in a football huddle and they all said, break, this is what we're going to say. I am not enough.
I know.
I am not
I've heard
enough.
it too.
And it pained me because I am not enough didn't even have a comma. What? I'm not enough. What? So there's nothing to combat it. It's just like the devil to just, keep it up in the air that you don't even know what it is, to keep these women who are so amazing, who are so awesome and resilient, to keep them down. But we aren't enough. And I want a mom to know that she matters. And I wish I had known that so long ago, that I could have helped more women. But, we don't know what we don't know. Mm-hmm. But my favorite scripture is Galatians 6:9. And it says, don't become weary in doing good, because at the proper time you will reap a harvest of blessing. But the caveat here is, if you don't give up. Absolutely. There's so much goodness. It's just on the other side.
Yeah. And okay, I'm going off script here, if you'll permit me.
Oh, this is the fun part. Here we go.
I want to ask, this I am not enough, I feel like has kind of come into our consciousness as that statement. When you said it, I knew exactly what you were going to say, because I've asked the same questions and gotten the same answer. And so, we know the devil feeds that, but what does it come from? Where did we get that, to other than like our own brokenness and trying to live up to some imaginary goal for ourselves. I don't know. I mean, do you have a feeling on that?
Well, it's funny because I know when I drop my kids off at school, there's a cafeteria worker and the history teacher and the bus driver and all the things. And then they come home, and especially during quarantine, I am all of those things.
Mm.
And for some reason, I think I'm supposed to be as great as each one of them as a whole person. And I'm setting myself up for failure. I know one time, right after I had my first child, I had to go to this, my cable remote control broke, and I had to go out to this. It looked like a park like area, but it was the cable store. But it looked like all glass, And I went up to the door, and it said it was closed until 9, and it was like 8:45. And so I thought, well, I'll just stroll my little baby, and no one was around, and I'll just wait. And I looked at my butt, and I remember thinking, oh my gosh, how did I get here? When am I going to lose this weight? Like, I had so much expectation on myself. No one else did. My husband didn't care. No one but me. I am the one who placed that on myself. And the more I would turn around and look at my butt, I'd squeeze a little butt cheek, and I was like, ugh, I'd roll my eyes out of just like, why? And all of a sudden, this woman came running out, and I'm looking in the mirror in this glass, and I'm just like, oh, and I wouldn't give myself grace at all. And this woman in a suit and heels came running out, and she's kind of giggling. And I looked at her, and she goes, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry, but there's like 9 people in a meeting, and they're watching you grab your butt. And like, I was like,
Oh my
oh my
gosh.
God, I had no idea. The sign said it was closed, right? And and all I could think of was, because I didn't give myself grace and I'm being so mean to myself, now I hear the roar of laughter from this meeting, and I'm just like, I have never raced back to a car so fast.
Like, never mind that remote.
Never mind. Who needs a remote? We don't need cable. But I thought, if I had have given myself grace, I wouldn't have been in that situation. If
Mm.
I would pull out all of the gold stars in my pocket that have been accumulating for years because I never use them. Every time I go, oh, I should be this, I should be that. Look at that mom in carpool, that her hair looks good today and mine doesn't. It's like we're in carpool and we're comparing ourselves to others as a measuring stick of success. And when we compare, we are always going to be rise above them or below them, but we're never partnering with them. No one wins when we don't partner. We always lose. So look, our kids, they feel loved, they ate, they slept in a bed, boom, we are winning. Maybe they ate a Rice Krispie treat for lunch. Okay, mama's trying to make it, and they ate. So grab a gold star and throw it in the air and be like, good job, girl. Yes, you're the only mom they've got, but you are awesome. You are rocking it. So it's all about perspective.
I know I really wrestle with that too. We talked earlier about I'm a 1 on the Enneagram. So I've got this like inner voice that tells me I'm doing it wrong all the time. And my counselor said to me a couple of weeks ago, like, I wonder what it would sound like for you to speak to yourself as you would to a child, like to the little Merritt, like to the 6-year-old. And I was like, ooh, I have no idea what that would sound like. Like, like the gentleness, the care, the warmth, it's like, oh, we beat ourselves up so much.
It's so true. I was in the closet, and I thought, well, I'm going to clean the master closet out, because the more the laundry piled higher, my mind said that's the clutter of my life. I'm failing. It's just really ridiculous what we tell ourselves. And this picture of me when I was 7 or 8 years old fell off the shelf, and it hit me in the head. I looked up, and I thought to myself, I am sitting here telling that little girl, and it could make me cry today. I'm telling this girl that she's not enough, that she should be further along. What are you doing? You can't do that. When she was 8 or 9 years old, she thought she could do anything. She did. She thought she could, so she did. No one told her otherwise. And now I'm telling her that she can, that you're lacking. You should be a better mom. You should be this, this, and this. I'm telling that little girl, that's the one. And I've got to be her advocate. I've got to be her cheerleader. I know when I do things for my kids, I'll flip pancakes and I'll make them chocolate and blueberry pancakes and I'll flip it. And oh my God, it looks like the pancake has a tail on it or something. And the kids are like, Mom, you're so awesome. Oh, this is the best pancake. And I'm like, well, you had to have faith to eat it, but thank you. But it's like they give you grace. Why can't we give ourselves grace?
Totally. And I feel like that goes back to that. Like, if we could just live in this current moment, like however big our butt is and however big the pancake turns out to be or not. I mean, if we could just live right here, right now, comparing ourselves to no one and trusting that God just made us for this moment, I mean, how much more freedom would we have?
Yes, I love it because Ephesians 2:10 says that God created you a masterpiece to do great things. He didn't say, girl, you're okay or you'll do. He said, you are a masterpiece created for this moment. You are like two peas in a pod to your kids. Like, however you got the kids, if you're raising your cousin's kid, it's just God put you together like peanut butter and jelly. You are the one for the hour. Girl, it's your time to shine.
Absolutely. If we could just hear that voice. That's why we need to be in his word, right?
Oh, yes. Yes. We cannot do it alone. No.
No. Well, I know that you had something that you wanted to offer the listeners. Do you want to talk about that?
Oh, yes. Yes. If you sign up to stephaniepletka.com, subscribe, then you'll get the 7 ways on how to rock motherhood. So I'm all about steps to getting somewhere, not just foo-foo, but I love the steps. I need that little map to get me to that place. And that's what that is.
Awesome. Do you have a sneak preview? Can you give us a step?
Oh, gosh. Okay. Well, let's see. One of them is to establish boundaries. So when we establish boundaries, it's so funny because some people say like, did you establish a boundary to make me mad? And it's like, no, I established a boundary to honor me. I've got this little golden doodle and she is so cute. She prances around all the time and anything that flies, she just knows how to like marinate in the delight of life, right? And so in the front yard, we have these like the electrical fence.
Yeah.
And if we didn't have those little red flags to establish where the boundaries are, she would feel fearful. Like, when I overstep the boundary, there's a consequence, but no one told me where the boundary is, right? So there is a security in a boundary. And when you overstep it, there's a consequence. And so I'm just a firm believer in establishing boundaries to honor yourself.
That's great. I love it.
You're so cute. We could talk all day. You're so fun.
I know we could. Oh my goodness. Well, you did just share a little nugget for us, but if you had 5 more minutes to share another nugget of truth with a woman who's got a dream, what would you share about what you've learned?
Oh my gosh. Okay. One of the big lessons I've learned is don't allow your to-do list to become your boss. Oftentimes we think, the kids want me to spend time with Legos on the floor, or it's all been about potty training today and I haven't gotten a thing done. But it's okay because spending time with humans has no box to check. This is not wasted space. I mean, didn't Dr. Seuss write a book about that, The Waiting Place, right? So it's very important to not think that the waiting place, that season of life where you're like, when is this going to happen? When is quarantine over? What's the uncertainty? When do colleges start back again? When do kids go to school? Lord help us all, but nothing is wasted. So that was what I would say is don't allow your to-do list to become your boss because spending time with humans has no box to check.
I think that's so beautiful too, as we're heading into a summer that looks like none other. I mean, we've gotten emails from our HOA that's like, well, we don't think the pool's going to open, but we don't
Oh,
know,
goodness.
And so just like all of that stuff where you have this idea of what life was going to be in summer of 2020. And in reality, like, okay, going to the pool is nice. But instead, if I could just like go on a walk with my kids and they're riding their bikes or their scooters or whatever, and we're just together, like that's so beautiful. And so I love that. That's great encouragement that the to-do list doesn't get to rule us.
Yeah, and I love your point because you're saying it's nice to have like that schedule and know what's ahead. I like that, and I'm a big flexibility person, but I love knowing what's ahead. And by not doing it, we really have to embrace the plan Bs,
Mm-hmm.
and learn to be flexible because sometimes the perfection in us will pop up and be like, but that's not how it was supposed to be. And we just have to learn how to be flexible and pivot. Plan Bs are definitely plenty for the taking right now.
And I think too, I used to have to schedule the quality time. Like, okay, this is the hour that I get to hang out with my kids. And it's like, no, actually, it pops up a lot more now, where it just gets to happen. And it's not like, check that off the list,
Absolutely. All day
So
long.
much better. So much better.
I
I mean,
know.
not that pandemic life is better, but parts of it are.
That's right. It's all about perception. You can look at something and you can find positive in anything,
Mm-hmm.
or you can just complain about it all. It really is like the bag of chips. I can, you can eat 10 at a time. I mean, and that's the way it is. It's like, oh, the sky is blue again, the kids are still here and they eat every 12 minutes. Okay. Or you
Mommy,
can find the goodness in it.
right. Mommy, I need a snack. I'm like, you just had a snack.
You just ate a snack. And then I'm eating a snack with them. I'm like, oh my goodness.
Totally.
Help me.
Yesterday we made the like shake the cream in a bag ice cream stuff. And my husband's like, you're making ice cream at 10 a.m.? I'm like,
why not?
Why not? Here we are.
What else are we going to do?
I know.
Oh my gosh.
Well, Stephanie, this has been super fun. And I would really love you to just kind of like think back to who you were before God placed this dream on your heart to encourage and support other women and moms. How would you say that God has transformed you by saying yes to this?
Oh my goodness. Oh, in so many ways, I feel hopeful. The fear has left me because even though I don't know what the storm holds, what's ahead, I just believe that God's got it in control. He does. He said, I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. He didn't say through Stephanie or Merritt. He said through Christ who gives me strength. There's a scripture, it talks about, I think it's like Matthew 10 something, 29 maybe, that talks about not a bird falls from the sky. That sparrow sitting on that obscure wire, not a bird, not a sparrow, so tiny, is forgotten. It's not unseen, not a tear is shed that God doesn't catch it. And I believe that my entire life, I felt like God is my hero. There would be times when I was growing up and, my parents were entrepreneurs and not everybody pays when they should. And, you're the customer service person and you're the accountant and the janitor, you're all the things. And so many times, even before I knew Christ, but I knew there was a God, I would pray. And when he changed my heart, it would be like, I'd pray for clothes and somebody would just drop a bag of clothes off on the front porch. Or when we didn't have enough money to go to college, God just provided in so many ways that, are so much higher and greater than your own imagination, because he wants to show you that, look, I'm in control here. I'm God, not you. So that's been probably the biggest thing for me, is just knowing that God is in control. It is not me. I want to remind women that life is a mess, but it's also a masterpiece. So straighten your crown and warrior on.
If you're exhausted by the comparison game, this was the episode for you. You'll find the show notes for this one at meritonsa.com/podcast/155. That's also where you can find all the ways to connect with Stephanie, find that link to grab the PDF she mentioned, Guilt-Free Guide to Living the Life You Always Dreamed. I think my big takeaway from this conversation is the value of being intentional to love and encourage others. I love that Stephanie says encouragement is her superpower. It's not lost on me that while this is something she is probably naturally good at, it's also a choice. We get to choose what we do with the gifts, abilities, and even with the lack that exists within us as humans. We can use it all for good. We can use it to encourage and uplift others. And I have loved watching this happen all around us during the pandemic with creative gestures of love and care for neighbors. And even so far as protesters and cops choosing to pray together at a demonstration, a Black Lives Matter demonstration, or police officers taking a knee during a protest, acts of humility and love that are remarkable because they aren't the status quo. But they shouldn't be. They should be our everyday. So I'm grateful for the example Stephanie has been in this interview and in the days since then, as every word that flows from her to me has been uplifting and encouraging. Thank you, Jesus. Would you make us all a little bit more humble, uplifting, others-centered, and inspiring through your Holy Spirit? Dear friend, thank you so much for listening today and throughout Season 7. I look forward to connecting with you again with new episodes returning in the fall. Stay tuned for summer, coming June 24th. We all want to make an impact, right? I mean, what are those dreams about anyway? Well, here's a quick way to do that right now for someone who needs what you just heard. Will you take a screenshot of this episode, tag me at MeritJO, and share it in your Instagram stories so that together we can get this encouraging message into the earbuds of the women who are ready to fight back fear, trust their identity in Christ, and unleash the dreams He's given them for their lives. It's so simple to do, and they will thank you for your recommendation. Then, before you go, if you were encouraged by today's episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review of the show over on iTunes so other dreamers just like you can find the podcast. Until next time, I would love to connect with you over on Instagram or in the Devoted Dreamers Insiders group on Facebook, where you'll find a community of like-minded women who love Jesus and are in the midst of pursuing the dream He's placed on their hearts. Thank you so much for joining me today. And wherever you are with your God-shaped dreams, may you have the courage to take one step toward their realization today.